right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Reverend Kenneth Price on Sunday, November 17th with Reverend Dale Blackford for the Sunday afternoon podcast, Freedom from Suffering, for our ministry, two or more r1.com with the number two. And well, I've done this introduction, I don't know how many, 10, 15 times, so I'm just going to keep it real brief. Dale and I have known each other for 15 years. And he contacted me last spring, said he's ready to start speaking again. I couldn't have been more thrilled because I love what he has to say. He says something different each time. So it's the same thing each time, but he says it differently. He's pointing towards the lighthouse. He points towards the lighthouse on shore, but he just points in different directions. It's kind of like a GPS. Let's get this boat out of the storm. So, Dale, what do you got to share for us on Sunday, November 17th? How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm a little bit verklempt, a little bit. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Well, that's a complicated question because I'm diving through the shadow every day, and I'm ebbing and I'm flowing, but I'm heading towards the lighthouse on shore. That's my answer to that question.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's interesting because I go to I take my partner to her church. She's a lifelong Methodist, so I go to this Methodist church on Sundays, and I sit and just am at peace and stay quiet, and I listen to what the minister has to say. I like her voice, and I like how she delivers things. The message is always interesting, and this week was real interesting, strange too, because I asked. She had Marina had her, or my partner Marina had her girlfriend with her at the church, and afterwards I asked them what they got from the service, and they didn't want to. They really didn't say anything. It's almost like they didn't get anything from it, and which is something that I wonder at times too, because I don't know that. I think sometimes people don't get stuff from it, but it's just that I don't know. Maybe it tickles them somehow. I don't know. But the interesting thing I heard was she was using a scripture quote where Jesus was talking about the a person was talking to him in awe of the size of the temple and the stones at the temple, how big they were and huge, how the buildings were awesome in size, and which I guess they were. I guess they were like 35 feet long and 12 feet wide and 18 feet deep, something like that. They were really big stones. Any rate, he was talking about all those, and Jesus basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, well, all those stones were going to collapse. They're going to collapse and fall away. And he really was talking about kind of like what people in Christian circles would call the end of times. That's what they call it, end of times. And she used a quote from the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, which I think and actually I think it was the name of a Weezer album too. Let me see if I just a second here. I want to pull that up here. I've got it right down here. I just got to get out of, what do you call it?
I remember that movie. I just remember the Marigold Hotel.
The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And let's see here. Any rate. Well, that's strange. I don't know. Can't find the quote now. Is this it? Oh, here it is. The quote was, "Everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, then it's not yet the end." I'm going to say that again. Everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, then it's not yet the end. And come back to the screen here for me.
Right, I love that one.
Yeah, and I was trying to get some response to what they thought that meant, because I know, I mean, for me, what I was hearing a lot, because it wasn't really being explained, like they're saying everything will be all right in the end. What's the end?
It's the title of this YouTube video.
Yeah. What's the end? I mean, I'm thinking about what's the end. I mean, and if everything isn't all right yet, I mean, or isn't all right, then it's not yet the end. And I think a lot of times what people are talking about is the end of times, the end of the world, the end probably, for us who when we die, the end of the world ends when we die. For us, it ends. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm not certain of that, but I would suspect it does because we have to let go of everything. It seems like we'd have to grab it back. But I think that's kind of, interesting how Christian thinking, and not just Christian thinking, but all kinds of thinking is like that. It's like everything about spirituality and everything about reality is on the layaway plan. It's all on the layaway plan. It's like it's going to happen then, not now, but then. Because when I interpret that scripture with that quote, I can make it work for me, but what it means to me is the end is when I'm not infatuated and attached with my sense of self and the world. That's the end. When the end of me as a believing that I am in the moment a creature of the world, like someone who my name is Dale Blackford. Okay, that's who I am. No, no. When that ends, yeah, then everything's all right because there's no more drama anymore. Everything is like under the what do you call the grace of God or the perfection of the universe just flowing into itself in all kinds of ways. There's no bad or good. There's just different ways of seeing things that and experiencing life.
Then
Just a second. Marina, do you know I'm on here on a podcast here?
somebody's at the door.
Just a second.
All right.
Okay, I'm back.
That's fine. I got the video editing software, so I just blip out the.
Yeah. So anyway, to go back to that, it's like it ends everything everything's going to be all right in the end. Yeah, everything's all right in the end when you end it. When you get out of space time. I mean, in the present moment, everything's all right. It's all right at the end. That is the end. And if it's not all right, it's not, you're not in the end. You're in drama still. It's kind of like it speaks to me a little bit like of that quote of Einstein's where he's saying, where you live, your most important decision you make is whether or not you live in a friendly or hostile universe. The end, the end is the friendly universe. The hostile universe is not there yet. And it's all the drama and the turmoil and the all the ways that we say that gosh it'll be better, and it'll be better in the end. It'll be better down the line. I know I've talked to you this about in 12, it's one of the things I have about 12-step groups because 12 steps were, their texts and stuff for AA was created created quite a while ago. And it really needs to be updated because the way they deal with the way they deal with time with two of their most important documents kind of shows it. And that meaning the 12 steps themselves and also the promises of the program. Because the steps themselves are written in past tense. It's like came to believe that a power, well, let me read it here real quick here. Okay, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, whatever. But see, all that is written in past tense, like we did this, which doesn't really help a person at all that they did this. The only thing that matters is, are you doing it right now? I mean, in other words, I should have this back up. I got to drag this over here so I can come back and forth. Hmm. Okay. We admitted we were powerless over whatever alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. It has to be, I now admit that I'm powerless over alcohol, that my life has become unmanageable. I have come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Or not could restore me. I've come to believe that a power greater than myself is restoring me to sanity, or can restore me to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. I make a decision now to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood God, as I understand God. So that has to happen, because if you're not in the present moment, it doesn't mean anything. What happened yesterday, I mean, yeah, that's a lot. That's like standing up after 30 years and saying, I've got a 30-year chip and I haven't acted out in 30 years, but that's because I made a decision back then. I promised to myself that I wouldn't do that. But, I'm still feeling like I want to act out because that was the decision back then. I mean, you don't have to have any history to make a decision right now to say, right this moment, like say if you're an alcoholic, you can say, right this moment, I'm not, I'm turning my will over to God now. I believe that God can can restore me to sanity. And I will allow that. I will be willing towards that now. The same thing with, even more so with the promises, because the promises are even more. I mean, when people, a lot of times I just cringe when people say the promises. Let me pull that up again.
Dale, I've been waiting for years to get this on archive. So I'm so thrilled you're touching on this, because you said this to me 13 years ago, and I went to a 12-step meeting 13 years ago, and I wasn't very good with my, I was still very, very fresh and very green. So I tried to repeat what you said at a 12-step meeting, and they ran me out on a rail.
Right, yeah, because they say here's the promises. I can just start, I'll do a few of them. We are going to know, and that's all you need to know is right there. We are going to know. Because if you're going to know something, that means you don't know it right now. There's no way you can phrase that any other way. We are going to know what? A new freedom and a new happiness. And it goes on like that. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. That means it hasn't. We will lose interest in selfish things, but right now we're way packed in on selfish things. We will gain interest in our fellows. Yeah, sometime, and we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. But I don't realize that right now. And then usually, like in some of the groups I'm at, one of the groups I did, when they finish this, they end it by saying this. They say, "Are these extravagant promises?" And they all together say, "We think not." And of course, for me, when they say, "Are these extravagant promises?" I'm already in present time, and I'm going, "No, I'm not. We think not. No, they're not extravagant promises. They're reality. They're reality." But the whole idea of these promises, like God will do for you what you cannot do for yourselves. I mean, when is it going to happen? It never happens if it's going to happen in the future. That's like goal setting too. If you look at goal setting, think about it. It's in the future, okay? And there is no future. What about now? When are you going to let the world end now so that there's, everything will be all right? Now, in the end, now. But see, that's the whole problem with this delusion with the world we're in, and this delusion with self and the avatar that we created ourselves to be. I mean, we think it's really noble. We think it's really noble to be trapped in roles like parents. And, people forget that Jesus jettisoned his mother. He jettisoned his mother. He said, "Nah, go to this disciple, because you're not my mother anymore. I'm beyond that role. We are not that role." I mean, you can play the game, but that's, again, Jesus says, "Be in the world, but don't you dare be of it." And if you're of it, which is everybody thinks we're of it, we're susceptible, we're subject to it all. I look at the thing with the election and Trump, and who, whether you like him or not, and whether you think it's right or wrong, the guy's a sociopath. He's a sociopath. Okay. And he's very clearly a sociopath. And if you want to get upset about having a sociopath run the government, then knock yourself out. But it doesn't really matter if a sociopath's running the government or the most sincere, in touch, present-minded person like Krishnamurti was running the government. It wouldn't matter as far as what we do. What matters is what we do. Are we present here and now? And are we of the world? Or do we just, like we watch the river run? The flotsam and the jetsam goes by. That's the elections and stuff like that. It's the flotsam and the jetsam just floating by. But can we do that? I mean, I was at a meeting this Saturday, and it's kind of the first time I'd seen this, where a guy who'd been in our group for quite a while, he hadn't been here for quite a while, and he came back. I think he was on vacation or something, and he was telling us how depressed he was. I mean, he was really depressed. He wasn't, I mean, he was angry, but he was depressed more than angry. And it was because Trump had been elected, and he was saying, how could people elect a convicted felon? How could they do that? How could they do that? And he finally said he was turning away from people. And that, in fact, he got up and left. He said, I can't be here anymore. He said, some of you probably voted for Trump. And I said, I don't know what to say. I got to go. And he got up and left, which, is his right to do. But, to take those things like that, the world's always going to do this. And anymore, I mean, when Jesus was talking about the collapse of the world, he wasn't messing around when he said he came with a sword. He would cleave, relationships. Mothers and fathers and sons and daughters would be cleaved apart, because we're not mothers and daughters and fathers and sons. We're the light of the world, pretending we aren't. Building familiar kind of like faux cocoons to hang around in, while we avoid the main cocoon, which is letting go of the world. We're going to try and avoid that cocoon at all costs by creating little faux ones where we can all kind of get together and say, hey, we're unconscious, but we got each other, right? Yeah. And that's what we do, and it's not wrong, but it isn't also not real that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing. And when we end this world, as we get older, people start to see that as they get older, and the connections, the faux cocoon, their job and their relationships, their families and stuff like that, their health and everything like that starts to deteriorate, and you start to see that the cocoon dissolves away. And then people, of course, like Kubler-Ross say, you go through the whole things, you try and fight it with what you can, with denial and anger and bargaining, and then you end up in depression, until you can, finally admit that you really don't know what's going on, that you really never had control at all, and that you really don't know what this is all about. And then only then can you actually let that go and actually move into acceptance, which is the bliss of being fully who you are. And I don't know, I think when you become fully who you are, even the moment, say, as you die, I don't know that you would feel regret, to be honest, because this world is nutso. I mean, we've created it pretty damn nutso to support ourselves in believing in shared insanity. We really have really pulled out all the stops, psychologically and legally and familially, all kinds of ways, self-imagery, to keep that illusion alive. And as long as we can, which is why we do this thing too, because there's a lot of people now that they're falling apart before they're dying. They're falling apart before they're physically dying. That's a really good thing. That's a really good thing to be that aware, to start falling and seeing life so that you can be a part of another phase of life that you were a part of, but you couldn't experience it consciously. Now you can start experiencing it consciously. You can be in this world and not of it, and start noticing things. Noticing how you feel when you say, I don't feel good. Well, is it that you don't feel good, or is it you feel different? Is it that you just feel different, and you got messages going on that say in your ego and your belief structure that says, if you feel different than this, that means something's wrong and you're off base and you're doomed. Is that what's going on here? Because maybe that isn't what's going on at all. Maybe something else is being born inside you. Your body's changing, as it expands through your awareness. You still can experience the light of the world no matter what is going on. I was talking about this the other day too, like with the because this guy was so depressed, and I was thinking about depression because I'm pretty good with depression and the only reason I'm pretty good with depression, I've been depressed all my life. I remember, all my life I've been depressed, and off and on. I'd go into 3-month periods of depression, and then I'd come out of it. And I had longer bouts than that. But then when I went through that 2-year dark night of the soul, and it's basically like God's, I'm being willing. I'm saying, hey, I'll do whatever's necessary, because I don't want to live trapped. And Spirit says, okay, all right, you here we go. I'd say hold on tight, but you're going to need to let go. So just let go and see what happens here. And down, 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 I went into depression, deep, deep, deep into depression, until, where there was nothing to hold on to anymore, and there was no hope. And then I came out of it. And then it was like, oh, I'm okay, aren't I? And it's like, yeah. And then now when I get depressed, if I do still feel the same things as depression, but to me, it's just like time to be still. It's just time to be quiet and notice what's before me. Usually means I'm moving too fast. When I get depressed, it usually means I'm moving too fast. It's like, okay, slow down here, breathe, feel, and I know, but if you turn on the TV, what do they say? You got depression. They say, hey, we're here to help you, because this is a bad thing. Depression, they show pictures of people with sad sack faces and, walking around going like, with a little face in front of them, like a happy face. They're supposed to be happy, and they're like, oh, I'm so down. I'm so down. Life seems so bad, so bad, so bad. And of course it can seem so bad because it is bad. We fucked it up, man. We've screwed the pooch big time, and we're calling it normal. We're calling it normal. We're calling it part of self-growth. It's like, no, it's not. It isn't bad, but it isn't what we're trying to make it into. It is not that at all. So so the thing is, like, I love the catchphrase is always like, and with all these antidepressant drugs, it's keep moving forward. And I'm like, I quit moving forward quite a while ago, and it wasn't because of depression. I quit moving forward because there was nothing to move forward to. I saw nothing there that I could move towards. It was an emptiness. All I could do is move forward and realize that the whole time I was moving forward, I was still in the moment that always existed, in the illusion that it was a moment changing going forward. And then with a cluelessness that said, what am I going to get from this? And then in that part too, when I don't know, thank you. When I don't know what's, and a break here for a second. I don't know. I lost that.
Moving forward.
Yeah,
It's an oxymoron.
Forward too. There's nothing there. And it's like, once you start to realize that there's nothing there, the thing is, you don't, your ego and stuff, your sense of self does not want to say that, because it goes, my God, if there's nothing there, then what is my life about? and of course it's like everything else. It's based on your judgments about what you think life is. You wouldn't, you haven't thought outside the box at all to say, well, could it be maybe it's much larger than the thimbleful of awareness I've been holding it in? Maybe there's, let's ask that. In 12 steps too, it's like when people come into 12 steps, and one of the hardest things for like alcoholics and stuff like that, and probably why they have to crash and burn, is because their higher power is just way too small. Way too small. It's like you can, same thing with Christianity. That it's God, I'm amazed at, like, God is beautiful, all-knowing, creates everything, but God can't deal with these human beings who have the capability to mess up their lives, create sin, and put themselves on the precipice of hell, and create bad things and be bad people. I mean, what kind of God is this? Give me another one. Give me one that's got some actual spunk in him, some power, who sits there and can go, yeah, I know they're all delusional, but they're my children. I love them. And you know what? When they're done playing, they're just right as rain. They come back because they play out all these things, and they play them out to the hilt. And when they're done, they sober up, and they sober up every time. And you know why they sober up? Because I am the soberness within them, and I shine through all the time. I cannot be denied. Everything else fades away. So am I worried that through their efforts, they're going to fall away from me? What kind of God do you think I am? Just a little putz? No, I'm the creator of the universe. I breathe into everything. Everything.
I just wrote down, what kind of God do you think I am? I've got about 4 or 5 titles already.
Because if God, if you have to, like, for instance, the thing with that quote from Einstein, where he says the most important decision you make is whether or not you live in a friendly universe. You can't make a decision to live in a friendly universe if your God's too small. If God can't actually keep up with you, if God can't keep up with the friendliness aspect and have it all fully covered, how could you make a choice to live in a friendly universe? And that's why people probably would never never give that kind of a quote any credence at all, because they're thinking that. They're thinking exactly that. Well, this isn't a friendly universe. It's a hostile one. It's a hostile one. I mean, look at child abuse, look at murder, look at, abuse, look at everything that's on this planet, war, politics, It's like, well, yeah, because this place isn't, we've created an insane theater. This is insane theater, what do they call it? Insane theater moment time. We have directors for it. We have scripts. We have places to act. Everybody's got a part in it. And it's like, they all are connected in the whole production. Also, the scripts kind of come together, and we're saying that's reality. No, it's not reality. It's not reality. It's craziness. It's hostility, because God is too small. But see, for God to be small, you have to give yourself to God, which means, you just can't give your false sense of self to God. Yeah, you got to give your false sense of self to God. Yes, you do. To the universe, yes. But you have to give all of it. You have to give everything that you are. You have to give the whole idea that the limitations that you think that you have. You're God's beloved. How could you have any limitations? How could you put any end on describing who you are? How could you do that? You couldn't do it unless you want to play small. And everybody says play small. Everybody says you have to play small because you got to CYA, because otherwise you're going to get hurt here on this world. Well, of course you're going to get hurt in this world. Jesus got crucified on this world. And he knew it. He knew it was happening. And he didn't buck it at all. He said, yeah, this is what happens here. This is what happens here. But guess what? You're going to see something that you haven't seen before if you stay awake. What's that? We're going to see somebody who realizes there's no power in this world, and I'll walk right through it. I'll walk right through it. And all the images and everything of my body being destroyed, everything that you think of me, my career, my ministry, everything destroyed, you're gonna watch all that dissolve away, and you're gonna see, there I am. I am the light of the world. I was when I first came here. I am every moment. I am. I'm not concerned about that. So even when he did miracles, I mean, can you realize how, I mean, how many miracles could that guy have done if he wanted to, if that was his intention? Man, he could have been doing miracles all the time. Every soul that walked by him was in need of a miracle. Every one, like you and me, we're in need of a miracle to waken us. But he didn't do that. No, he just was there like a light. And then when people came up and said, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm feeling this willingness in me to surrender to this light. And he's like going, good for you. Wow. Rise, take up your bed and walk. Hey, Lazarus, rise, come out of the tomb. Food? Yeah. You need to pay a tax? I reach in the mouth of a fish. Why not? I mean, there's a million, zillion ways to make this stuff work through manifestation. At least we're starting to see that in this world, that, thoughts are things in this madhouse. Thoughts are things. We can create anything we want. So could you create a coin coming out of the fish of the mouth of a fish? Well, of course you could. Why not? I think maybe that was the whole point. Jesus going like, I bet you never thought I could pull a coin out of the mouth of a fish, did you? Well, look at that. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Well, then let's do everything. And Jesus is going like, no, that's not the point. That's not the point. This is the land of imagery. This is the land of phenomenon, and it's changing all the time. And it has its own set of limited rules that it functions within. And it is what it is. I mean, if you think, I don't think in any way that Jesus thought that this world would be that we would actually change our thinking and create a world that looked like heaven. No. He wasn't an idiot. I mean, he saw what this was made out of. It's what gigo, garbage in, garbage out. Old terms, but that's what it is. Garbage in, garbage out. Perception in, perception out. It's all created from perception. The only way for it to be really seen clearly was to let go of it. And that didn't mean you had to destroy it. That didn't mean you had to ignore it. That just meant you needed to start seeing it as it really was, as like cloud. I mean, if you look at clouds in the sky, we don't have a problem with that when clouds go by. If a cloud looks like a lion, we're not running for cover because it looks like a lion. We're going like, oh, it's a cloud changing. It's just changing, isn't it? Yeah. It's just an image, isn't it? It's not what I perceived a lion to be, is it? No, it's not. And nothing around here is what we think it is to be. And once we start to get that, then we can, you can still play with your computer and at the same time go, this isn't real. I don't know what this is, but it's like it's packaged in this sensual universe, and I'm playing with sensuality, doing something here. Then if your computer is stolen, you go, well, what do you mean stolen? It's just was here and now it's not here, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's kind of how the whole world is, isn't it? Yeah, that's how the world is. It pops up again. I'm starting to realize now. I was telling someone at a group meeting the other day, I was saying that a lot of my work now is on, my inner work is about inward reactions and inward assessments and stuff of things, and particularly with relationships and stuff like that. Like how can I see and have people kind of actually open myself up and have them reach in and speak to me and project in me, and things that are still raw, that I haven't dealt with clearly. And can I move to that place where I'm going, instead of like, what the hell why would you do that? Or why is that happening? Can I move to that place that goes, ouch, uh-oh, that hurts. Why is that hurting? What have I crusted that with? What am I holding that with? What do I believe that's about? Because that's where the hurt comes from, is that it's stuck, it's frozen. I need to You need to let it go. Let it go. Thank you for poking it. I really appreciate you poking that because I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Now I see it. Oh wow. And you know what they say? Know the truth. The truth makes you free. So yeah, so I want to see that. I want to live that. Yeah. So there's something else I was going to say about that, but I don't know. It'll come back, I guess. Hmm.
Well, I've got about 10 titles now. Garbage in, garbage out. Thoughts are things. Anything is possible, but that's not the point. God is too small. There is no power in this world. Self growth is not normal. And what kind of God do you think I am? That's
Right.
why I love doing this on Sunday.
Well, as long as I'm picking on 12 steps again, too, it's like I don't say this because there's a lot of people that they can't hear it right now. And that is, I would say, you know what, one of your best treatments is in your program, your best friend is your acting out. Your acting out is really good for you. How's that? Well, if you watch it and you notice it, you'll start to see what it's doing and what you think you're about when you're doing it, what you think you're getting, and you'll be able to start looking at the truth and find out, I mean, is it providing what you want? And if not, what is it providing? Okay? You know, how does that feel? What does that look like? So that you know, because eventually when you end up letting go of an addiction, the way it ends is not like you stop it. No, that because if you stop it, you're still addicted. You're just like fending it off and it's still there. When it ends is like everything else when you go, oh, I really don't have much juice for this anymore. I don't have any juice for this anymore. I don't have any faith or belief that it does anything, that it will get me anything I want. And so it's like, so then it's like, well, I could act out or not, you know, but when you act out, you go, there's nothing here. So you stopped acting out because you're not getting what you thought you should get, or you hoped in a fantasy you would get. And so you drop it because you go, well, like it's like you and the ego look at each other and you kind of both look at each other and go, there's nothing there, is there? And the ego goes, I don't think so. It doesn't feel very hot to me either. It feels like there's nothing there. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go dig around and find something a little more lively because that thing seems like it's gone. It's gone. Well, yeah, it is gone. It becomes gone. And it has nothing to do with it being a disease, has nothing to do with the psychological things that you could hold on to it with. It has to do with do you have juice for it or not? And the more you become aware, the less the more aware you become, the less juice you have for unconsciousness. The less juice, because your awareness demands that you actually look and see, see. When I went on a kind of almost like a little second dark night of the soul, it was about place where I was traveling around for about 2.5, 3 years in my car, and I was staying places wherever and it was because I didn't have the juice. I mean, I had some money still, but I had no juice to go find a place and any, rent a place, have a place. I had nothing like that. All I could see was like going with the moment. And when I ended up and I had to go to sleep, I'd have to go, well, how's that work now? And the idea of renting a hotel room or renting a place, I had no juice for it. I just had no juice for it. So it was like, that's why I did it, because it's like spirit saying, no, you don't have anything for that, do you? And I go, no, I don't. So face this to see what this looks like. And I did, and all my life that, even the story I told you about facing depression of homelessness, that came up with an insight that just said, hey, if you were doing it, you wouldn't be worrying about it. If you were living it, you wouldn't be worrying about it. And I going like, oh, that's what's killing me, isn't it? It's worry, isn't it? It's worry. That's why I've been paralyzed for 2 years. I've been worrying about it for 2 years. It's like, well, duh, yeah. And if I was doing it, I wouldn't be worrying about it, would I? Well, no, you wouldn't. You'd be doing it. You'd be dealing with it. It'd be in the moment. Circumstance would be here. You wouldn't be worrying about it. You'd be dealing with it. And I went, wow. I'd take that. Yeah, wow, yeah, I'd take that. And then the juice for worrying about things like that was gone. Or like talking to my egos, my ego saying, you can't do these things, can you? And I go, no, I can't do them because I don't have any juice anymore. I don't have any faith in that way. And once you start living like this, it's really interesting because it's almost like it's kind of interesting because I know for me, I have a hard time identifying with people which are most people really. I have a hard time with identifying with the people who have basically their awareness is dumbed down so much that they can continue to keep repeatedly chasing after these things that give them the same stuff over and over and over and over and over, and they're not happy from it. They're still fighting, trying to thrive, doing the same patterns over and over and over again. It's just money, like money. Wow. I don't have much money right now, but you know what I don't have? I don't have worry about not having money. I don't have that at all. I don't have any worry about not having money. And I don't have a lot of money. But it's kind of interesting. It's always showing up. It's always showing up more and more and more. It shows up. And I use it, and my things about, oh, I was thinking about spirit work. Spirit has me doing all this inner work. And it's almost like spirit saying, all the outer things that you used to have to kind of take time to fix and do stuff like that. It's like, I'm just going to start taking care of all that. I do anyways, but I think you're at a place right now where you can start see that you don't need to do anything about it. It can just take care of itself. And I'm watching it. I'm watching it happen. My car on election day, I came back in my car, which is a nice car, and I used my phone and play my music from my phone through my dash systems and stuff. Well, my brother-in-law turned on. He switched from the auxiliary to the radio, and I was like this just nasty AM radio station talking about the election, and I'm like, oh my God. And when he did that, it froze the whole system. It froze everything. In fact, all the possible combinations from clock to readouts on my gas mileage to other mobilities for like FM, AM, CD, da da da. All those buttons, none of them would work. None. The only buttons that would work were the on off and the volume button. That's it. Nothing else. I couldn't even change the station. Nothing. So I went, and I remember going like, I remember at that time going like, in the past, I probably taken that car in the next day and fixed it. And I remember thinking like, you know what? I have no juice for fixing this thing. Well, I don't even need to leave. I don't, and if push comes to shove, right now, I don't need to listen to music. So I turned the thing off. And, a couple days later, I turned it back on to see if it changed. It didn't change. A couple more days later, when I was in the car, all of a sudden I turned it back on. I just wanted to check and see if anything had changed. Didn't change. Didn't change. So then I let it go for a while and just, I just didn't, had no problem with it. And then it was like 2 days ago, which had been quite a while. I went, I haven't turned that thing on for a while, have I? I went, no, turned it on. Everything works. Everything works. Everything works. I have no idea. And you know what? I don't care to know. I really don't care. Now, my ego would probably say, would have in the past, and it still kind of said this stuff. It said, well, yeah, but will it last? Because if it's that, it can go out like that. Maybe it'll go out again. And I was basically like, not interested in that. The fact that it's playing right now is nice because I want to listen right now. But if it quits now, I just won't listen. I just won't listen. And I just I find with a lot of things in my life, that's a little one, but a lot of things in my life, they just kind of self either fix themselves or they graduate into something else. And like the car I had before, where I don't even want to get into all the things that happened to that car. But before that happened, someone had given me another car. And that car was actually moving out of my life by the time all the things that were starting to go with it started happening. And, and then finally I sobered up because I was still investing in like what I should do with that car because it was mine and it should be done rightly. And I finally just went, that car was given to me too. So why am I spending so much energy? Call up PBS and have them pick it up. Let them have it. Let it go, Dale. Let it go. Just let it go. So, letting go. But and then that's maybe another talk type, because I know we're getting near the end of the hour, but when you get into letting go, that's the interesting thing, because then the whole thing is about dealing with, and that's what I'm saying I'm working on. I'm working on what is it like to live my life inside while I'm letting go, and I'm not holding on to a world that I can control or conceptualize as being controllable, or even want to control, and have no idea where, the whole concepts of where it leads or anything like that. So when I'm in that and I'm just living like with what's showing up now, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, depending on what's going on and what's inside my gut that's coming up, or my head, my heart, just dealing with it.
Got a few more titles. We've got Worry Over Money, Everything Works, Let It All Go, What Is Showing Up Now, Garbage In, Garbage Out, Anything Is Possible, but That's Not the Point. This one's rich, Dale.
Yeah, I like that one.
Which one do you like best?
Anything's possible, but that's not the point.
All right, I'll put a asterisk next to that one.
It's like, I mean, and here's the deal: like, everybody's pushing, like all these people are doing workshops saying, well, you can do anything, anything you want. And I see Jesus walking into one of those things going, that's what I see. I see Jesus walking into one of those, goes, yeah, your point. Your point. I mean, you mean like a coin out of a fish's mouth, or raising the dead, or chronic sickness that gets healed like that? Yeah, you mean that kind of stuff? It's like, yeah, of course it is, because it's formed and it's unformed. It just, it just moves like that. And if you're willing to watch it change, and accept the change of it, it just changes. I mean, miracles aren't hard to find. Miracles are hard because we want to control them. We want to control them. And you can't control something like what you call a miracle, because it's beyond control. It's the whole universe conspiring in one moment to set the table in a different way, in a different way. And that happens when it happens, because you're willing, and really when it happens because when you're not attached to how you set the table, or even having a table, then it all changes. Yeah.
Miracles are hard because we want to control them. I mean, I like anything is possible, but that's not the point. But actually, this is one I'm going to have to ponder. It doesn't take long to ponder, but yeah, that's not the word. Contemplate. I like the word contemplate. Miracles are hard because we want to control them. What I'm getting from this is, I mean, you've said it in 1,000 different ways in just the last 45 minutes. Basically, oh God, I can't do this, Dale. Let it all go. That's the message. Let it all go.
Yeah, and what I'll say though is, when you start letting it, and this is again why you want to have two or more one, because it makes it clearer. But you will have those moments, and that's why I encourage people to reach out, because when you're in that letting go mode, I mean, it can feel kind of squirrely. It really can feel pretty squirrely, because you're not used to, you've been living a life that's been, you've been anchoring on anything in the sight. It's almost like you're lame, and you can hardly walk in this universe, because we walk so slowly, we move so slowly compared to like electric flight we were designed to flow with, that we don't move to the next thing until it's like we're holding on to one thing, and we don't, we reach out to something else, but not until we make sure we can let go of this and hold on to another one. It's like we're doing like that, reaching out, like a very frightened, lame or blind soul would, not wanting to fall. And the universe is saying, have you tried falling? Have you tried falling completely? Have you tried falling completely out of everything? Do you know that that's not right? Do you know that that's not the best thing that could happen to you? And you're going like, oh, wait a minute, man, I did not learn to live that way. Well, once you start losing juice for that other way, you find yourself actually finding that you can't have anything to grab hold of. And when you don't have anything to grab hold of, but I will say this, for me, I didn't really have nothing to grab hold with, like, wasn't like thrown into that, because the universe is real. It allows us to do what we need to do. And I've been learning how to let go of things and there and hang out in free fall. And, lately ask myself, well, wait a minute, seems like you're really over concerned about how you feel when you're in free fall, Dale, and you don't know what's going on, but you're okay, right? And I go, yeah, but you might be better than okay. You might be actually missing a whole joy that you're still not willing to look at and not willing to really see, because you're kind of like feeling what you're feeling and making it. When I had that breakthrough on with the ego, or I came out of that, or the dark night of the soul, when I had that breakthrough in the dark night of the soul, it took me 6 weeks to actually realize I'd already come through it. I think that's really, that happens with us a lot, overall, it's the whole condition. It's like we're free, but we think we're not. And because of that, we're manifesting all kinds of experience that supports our belief that we're not okay, Well, when you start questioning that, like question your feelings, not the message so much, but just the experience, like question something that says, well, this means I'm not okay because I feel this way. Well, what is it that you're actually feeling? Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's actually freedom that you're just kind of choking on, or you're like crushing in your chest, in your heart, because you're afraid to actually kind of like fall further into it. Wow. So want to take a little closer look, Dale? Want to take a little closer look? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I'm not done. Choking on freedom. We're free, but we think we're not. Have you tried falling? Question mark. I got to go back to the first one though. Anything is possible, but that's not the point. Dale, I'm loving this. That's why I have to record this, because I got to go back and study these. But truly, what I'm feeling is you said something, and I'm going to have to go back to the recording. But I saw immediately there's a short here. I'll send it to you when I have to, after I get done downloading this and put it in the video editing software. There's a short, and one of the things I'm glad is you cover many topics all at once, but it was the one about the 12 steps. I've wanted for years to get that on archived. The 12 steps has got to be in the present moment. Otherwise, we're just going to be taking 30-year tokens and saying, I haven't had a drink in 30 years. It's like, is that what you got to show for it? No.
Right. Well, in the battle of, like addiction, when you're a recovering addict, I see that in a lot of people when they say they're recovering addicts, they're still proud of being an addict. They're still proud that they have addiction and
identity,
and that they're recovering from it. And it's like, you can't be free if that's who you're, just the same way that you identify yourself as a self. If you identify yourself as an addict, at some point you got to kick out the jams. You got to say, well, what would life be like without me attached to this?
I know.
And that might mean a lot of different things. I mean, that might, you might be doing things that you previously thought were acting out that were not, or that are not acting out anymore. They're just field trips into your belief structure. That's all they are, is field trips into your belief structure.
Years ago, and I swear to God, if I could go, I don't even know if it's still on the internet. I hope it still is. You did a podcast, And the name of the podcast was "The Attic Doesn't Live Here Anymore."
Right. Yeah.
I hope that's still. As a matter of fact, now that I've got AI, maybe I'll ask AI if they can look that up. It was on Unity Radio. Remember that?
Yeah, I still have all that stuff.
Oh, I'd love, if you can find that specific one, I'll send you the request. The Attic Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Yeah, and you could, they keep that stuff forever, I think. So if you went on to, well, was that on Unity
It was on
Radio?
Unity, so it was,
Yeah, it's probably still there. But I did download it though. I think
the other one I was looking for was the Dark. Remember the one you did, the Dark Night of the Soul? What was it? Then there was a subtitle to that one. When caterpillars turn into crawlers. The word crawlers was in there. I don't know, but it was a dark. Anyway, I listened to that one 100 times. Dale, I think we got to start wrapping things up here. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for being patient with me with the time change for all of our viewers out there. I'm in Guadalajara, and you're not David, you're Dale. Dale's in Southern California, and we went through time change, and I got it all discombobulated, but we got it on archive today. And I'm just, Dale, you know how much I look forward to this on Sundays, because I can't put it into words, but your message, it has to be archived. And I don't hear this message from others. I mean, I hear the same message, but your delivery is unique. And that's why I just value this so much. I just value you as your friend, period. And I'm not going to start a Dale Blackford fan club or be a Cinco fan, just to tell you I love you.
I love you too, brother. Okay.
All right, this has been Reverend Kenneth Price and Reverend Dale Blackford on Sunday, November 17th for 2ormorere1.com. If you are watching this on YouTube, leave your comments below, like, subscribe, share, and reach out to us because, just because. You know why the answer to that question. All right, so that's it for today. Looking forward to getting this on YouTube and editing it and getting all the fun graphics. That's it for today's recording. Let's see. God bless, and may the force be.